All right, let's dive in. This past year, we saw an absolute flood of AI-related legislation sweep across the United States. So today, we're going to break down what's actually been happening and what it all means for the future of AI. So get this. In just the last year, lawmakers in all 50 states introduced more than 1,000 bills related to AI. We're talking over 1,080 to be exact. And this wasn't just one party. It really showed this huge shared sense of urgency to get a handle on this technology and fast. But here's where it gets really interesting. Out of that massive number, over 1,000, remember, only about 11% have actually become law. Just a tiny fraction. And that right there is the central question we're tackling today. You have all this activity, all this interest from both sides of the aisle, so why the huge gap? Why are so few of these bills actually making it across the finish line? Well, the answer isn't simple. It really boils down to this fundamental dilemma, a tension that lawmakers are wrestling with in pretty much every single state house. See, on one hand, there's this very real, very urgent desire to get ahead of the potential risks of AI, right? But on the other hand, there's this deep-seated fear, a fear of passing laws that could accidentally pump the brakes on American innovation and our ability to compete. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures that core conflict. Lawmakers are basically trying to walk this incredibly fine line, a tightrope, really, between managing the risks and not accidentally crushing innovation. Okay, so with that huge tension in mind, where are lawmakers actually finding some common ground? Where are they succeeding and getting things done? It turns out the key is to think small, super specific. The bills that are actually passing are the ones that don't try to, boil the ocean. Instead, they're taking this laser-focused approach to one single, really well-defined problem. And you can see that this strategy is absolutely working. Let's take deepfakes, for example. Out of all the AI bills introduced, a good chunk, around 300 of them, specifically went after deepfakes. And look at this. Their passage rate was almost 23%. That's more than double the rate of all other AI bills combined. That's a huge difference. So this success is really concentrated in these areas where the harm is, concrete and easy for everyone to grasp. It's just so much easier to get everyone to agree on these really clear-cut issues, like creating new penalties for non-consensual sexual deepfakes or making rules to protect your digital replica from being used without your permission. Now, this targeted success, it's a completely different story from the immense difficulty states are facing when they try to go big, when they try to pass these broader, all-encompassing AI regulations. Because when states try to regulate everything about AI all at once, I'm talking data privacy, algorithmic bias, developer safety, the whole shebang, progress just seems to grind to a halt. The issues are just so complex, and frankly, the stakes are incredibly high. Colorado is a perfect example of this. The state actually did it. They passed a landmark comprehensive AI law, but then they had to hit the pause button. They pushed back the date it would take effect for further consideration. It just goes to show you how, even when a state succeeds with broad regulation, it's still unbelievably complicated. And this isn't just a Colorado story, not by a long shot. We're seeing similar patterns of delay and debate all across the country. Ambitious proposals have stalled out in Connecticut, they've been flat out vetoed in Virginia, and they're facing really uncertain futures in big states like California and New York. You see, this whole legislative push, it's not about just one thing. It's this giant patchwork of different priorities, and it touches almost every single part of our society. And that sheer breadth, that's a huge part of what makes these big, broad laws so difficult to get passed. I mean, think about it. You've got lawmakers looking closely at AI in healthcare, everything from how insurance claims are processed to the role it plays in actual patient care. Then there's employment. Huge debates are happening over AI's role in hiring, in workplace surveillance, and of course the big one, the potential for job displacement. What about housing? Yep, states are targeting the algorithms that set rental prices, trying to prevent a kind of digital price fixing. And in our elections, a major focus is on protecting the integrity of the vote from AI-generated misinformation, which, by the way, helps explain why those deepfake bills we talked about have gained so much traction. And finally, states are writing rules for themselves, defining how their own government agencies can and cannot use AI. I mean, each one of these areas is a total minefield of complexity on its own. So, what does all this legislative chaos, all these different approaches, what does it all mean for the future? Well, right now, the best way to describe the United States on AI policy is not as one single country, but more like a collection of legislative laboratories. Think of it like this: each state is basically running its own experiment. So, what that means is instead of some unified top down national strategy, what we have is this fascinating and, yeah, sometimes messy patchwork of state level rules. And each one really reflects the unique priorities and concerns of the people and the lawmakers in that particular state. And all of this leaves us with a final and pretty critical question. With 50 states all taking 50 different paths, what will the American AI landscape actually look like in the end? And maybe more importantly, which of these labs will be the one to finally discover the formula that gets it right?